The winter wind howled through the narrow valleys of the Draken peaks, carrying with it a chorus of ghostly whispers that seemed to echo from the very bones of the mountains. Ellie and her friends, Marcus and Lily, had always been drawn to the stories of the Wendigo, an ancient, malevolent creature said to lure travelers into the frozen wilderness and devour their souls. Rumors swirled that it was a cursed spirit, born from greed and hunger, forever cursed to hunt the living, skinning their flesh and draining their essence. They had planned this trip months ago, a weekend getaway into the shadowed forests and icy ridges, seeking a thrill and perhaps, unknowingly, summoning the old malevolence they had heard about in whispered legends. Ellie, the most skeptical, scoffed at the stories, brushing them off as old wives' tales. But as they crossed the threshold of the forest, a strange feeling prickled along their spines, like the warning prick of an instinct they couldn't ignore. On the first night, they gathered around a campfire, its flickering flames casting long, dancing shadows that seemed alive. Lily told stories of the Wendigo, describing it as a gaunt, towering figure with glowing eyes and a hunger that could never be sated, an embodiment of insatiable greed, cursed to wander forever looking for victims. Ellie teased her, but as night deepened and the wind shrieked like a banshee, an uneasy silence fell over the group. Suddenly, from the darkness beyond the firelight, a faint, guttural moan drifted through the air. The friends froze. Marcus squinted into the shadows, calling out, "Did you hear that?" Ellie shivered, feeling a cold sweat break out despite the chilly air. "Probably just a wolf," she said, though her voice quivered. But as minutes passed, the sounds grew nearer, heavy footsteps crunching through the snow, rhythmic and uneven, like a creature stumbling towards them. Shadows flickered at the edge of their vision, and the trees seemed to bend and sway with a sinister purpose. Lily clutched her jacket tighter, whispering a prayer she barely believed. Then, out of the darkness, a shape emerged. It was tall, impossibly so, with elongated limbs that dragged on the snow, each step echoing a bone-rattling scrape that seemed to vibrate in their chests. Its face was gaunt, skull-like, with a permanent snarl revealing rows of jagged, bloody teeth. Its eyes, glowing a faint, sickly yellow, pierced through the darkness, fixating on them with predatory hunger. The creature paused, as if gauging their terror, and then let out a guttural snarl that sounded like the wind echoing through a cavern. Lily screamed, grabbing Ellie's arm. "Run!" Ellie shouted instinctively, pushing her friends to get up. They scrambled to their feet, tearing through the bushes and snow as the creature gave chase, its ragged breath steaming in the cold air. They ran blindly, hearts pounding, breath gasping in their chests. The forest exploded into chaos around them. Twisted branches snagged their clothes, and unseen roots threatened to trip them. Behind, the chilling sounds of the Wendigo's pursuit echoed, a reminder that it was relentless and insatiable. They burst out onto the icy ridge, not daring to look back. For a moment, they thought they had escaped, until they saw the creature at the edge of the woods, standing motionless, watching, its yellow eyes burning brighter as if feeding on their fear. The snow beneath its feet was crimson with the blood of past victims, someone's body long since devoured. Panting and trembling, they stumbled onto a narrow trail, one they hoped would lead to safety. But Ellie, the most skeptical, suddenly froze. Her eyes widened as a cold, clammy presence pressed against her mind. The creature's malevolent influence seeped into her thoughts, whispering insidiously. She felt her limbs grow heavy, her mind clouded with terrible visions of endless hunger, of being trapped in a perpetual state of want, never enough to satisfy the insatiable beast. "Ellie," Marcus shouted, grabbing her arm. "Come on." But her gaze remained fixed on the encroaching shadows, her mind overtaken by the creature's dark will. The Wendigo's form shimmered momentarily, an illusion, perhaps, but enough to terrify her further. Suddenly, the creature raised a clawed hand towards her, it's an eerie, silent plea or perhaps a threat. Ellie's vision swirled, and she felt an overwhelming darkness seep into her bones. She screamed, a sound half swallowed by the howling wind, and collapsed to her knees. "Ellie!" Lily cried, rushing toward her, but the creature's chilling shriek echoed through the mountains, halting her in her tracks. The wind seemed to carry the creature's curse, whispering that once touched, its hunger was never lost, except through death. By dawn, the remaining two friends staggered down the mountain, battered and haunted. Ellie's face was pallid, eyes vacant, her mind lost to the creature's influence. They reached the small town at the base of the peaks, exhausted and broken, but safe, for now. Yet in Ellie's eyes, a flicker of something dark and ancient remained, a whisper of that hunger that could never be truly extinguished. And somewhere in the frozen wilderness, the horizon shimmered with a faint, unnatural glow, evidence that the Wendigo's hunger was still alive, waiting for the next naive souls drawn into its icy domain. For it was a curse woven into the very fabric of the mountains, a relentless, starving specter that fed on greed and fear, forever searching, forever hungry. And now, Ellie and her friends carried its shadow within them,